Yeah.
And then
It's going to be like Theo Vaughn's podcast.
I don't think it'll be anything like Theo Vaughn's podcast.
Like just say some random shit.
I have one funny question prepared for you.
Oh, God.
Um,
And none of this is going to be edited. So we just roll.
No, I don't want to pay for an editor. No offense. Thank you so much. All right, you ready?
Let me put my phone on.
Put your phone on Do Not Disturb.
Yep, because people will be buzzing me. Which is a good thing. This is comfy.
I gotta move this up anyways. You ready?
I'm ready.
All right, what's up, you guys? It's Zap in Nashville, Tennessee. Super excited to interview another founder and learn more about them. Simba, thanks for hanging out with me on a Saturday morning.
Yeah, happy to.
Can you just kick things off with telling me like who you are and what do you do?
Yeah. My name is Simba Jonga. I'm the founder here of Laborup. What do I do? Changes day by day. But essentially trying to build this product that helps industrial companies hire in an agent-led way. Been at it for almost 2 years now, so coming up on the anniversary pretty soon here. That's a little bit about me.
All right, so Laborup helps manufacturing hire. Can you help, for people who don't know anything about the manufacturing industry, like what's the problem?
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, manufacturing is about 10% of the GDP, so it's extremely important, especially in places in the South and the Midwest. And a lot of those places hire millions of people across the country. And the majority of the workforce is not white-collar people. So not the people you find on LinkedIn or in any of the traditional places. It's a lot of what people traditionally defined as like blue-collar, which is kind of now being called new-collar, which is like technicians, machinists, welders, fabricators. That's primarily who makes up most of a factory in terms of workforce, about 80%. And the way you typically found those people today is the old way that white collar people are hired using traditional staffing agencies, very manual, very like you have a physical building. If you live in a small county, in an industrial town, maybe you drive past there, you go in, you leave your application, and that's how you get a job. So what we're doing is how can we do what LinkedIn did for the white collar in the industrial world, but now with AI, because part of what was hard for a lot of these workers to get on LinkedIn and any of these places is it's really optimized for white collar people that are more digital native and all these things. And the workforce we're going after, it's not that they're not digital native, but they're not as digital native. So you really have to build a product that kind of mimics and meets the way they interact with the world, which a lot of it is voice, text, and all these different things.
And so the problem is really the talent needs some place to go. What about on the other side of the marketplace with the manufacturing facilities? What's their challenge?
So because no one has done the work of aggregating that talent and learning more about the skills, it's really hard to find those workers. So you could take anywhere from 3 months to find a machinist, and you're paying like upwards of $20,000, $30,000 as a placement fee to hire one of them. And then you're dealing with crazy churn. So in the US, manufacturing companies spend about $40 to $50 billion a year in industrial staffing. So that is money they're paying to staffing firms.
Wow,
to
$40
hire
to
these,
$50 billion.
And then if you include construction, logistics, it goes up to 100, 150 billion. It's a massive market. This is also the same thing in healthcare, by the way.
Yeah.
Yep.
And there's just nothing to connect them and make it obvious.
Nope.
That's so crazy to me. And so talk to me about like, how did you even find this problem? Like, when did you realize like this could be solved?
Yeah, I mean, fundamentally, I think you care and only solve problems that you're kind of exposed to.
Yeah.
If you're not exposed to those problems, there's no way you're going to think about solving them or at least have the caring, even if there's like market or whatever it is. So for me, in a previous life, I was a chemical engineer and a process engineer. So I worked in oil and gas and pharma for some of the big companies in the Fortune 500. And one of the things we always dealt with, even when I was an engineer, is we would have a hard time finding operators for the floor to run the machines and the lines and all these things, find these technicians. So this was what, 7, 8 years ago? I obviously left that world and kind of moved more to tech. And then even then, I mean, it was just interesting to see the difference between how people get hired in the industrial world that usually don't have a 4-year college degree, and then how a 4-year college degree person gets a job. Like, for example, I got my first internship became a job in Microsoft through Handshake, for example.
Yeah.
And then LinkedIn has been very useful for me throughout my career. These people don't have that. So over the years, I mean, I ended up spending time at another startup where we were doing like predictive AI for manufacturing and maintenance. So just got exposed to some of the other problems. And then after going to grad school, spent a lot of time looking at both national security stuff and also AI. And I was one of the researchers for the AI index, which is this report that Stanford releases every year. So this was in 2024. And one of the areas, funny enough, that AI will, at the time, was said to have a big impact on was HR and manufacturing. So really going after knowledge work and things that need to be automated. So it wasn't like exactly one moment, but there was these dots that connected throughout the last like 7-8 years where you saw the problem, you saw how technology can solve the problem, you saw how other products solve problem in adjacent markets, and that kind of made the idea just like continue to pop up in my head throughout time.
Yeah.
And then I ended up just doing what most founders do, just start asking questions. So I ended up talking to manufacturing leaders at SpaceX, to tiny machine shops, and they were kind of saying the exact same thing. And I think where it really resonated was actually someone at SpaceX who told me that, yeah, if I want to find like a mechanical engineer, I literally go on LinkedIn. Let's say I'm in Austin or in SoCal, 300 or 400 profiles show up, like with a quick search on LinkedIn. And then I DM about 100 of them. And then about 20 get back to me in 24 hours. Then I set up 10 interviews. And within a week, I have 5 to 10 on-sites.
Wow.
But when I want to hire a machinist, I go on LinkedIn, I don't find anything. Or I then have to call the staffing firm that they use to figure out how to find a machinist or a tool maker. So it's just the dissonance between how to hire a mechanical engineer and how to hire a machinist or tool maker, which in terms of volume, that's the majority of what they need. So it was like, here's the most desirable company in the country for anyone who wants to go in the industrial world. They're having a hard time finding people.
Wow.
So it's like, okay, then it's clearly a problem for everyone. It's almost like if OpenAI was struggling to find engineers. It's like,
That's a huge problem. Okay, so how does Laborup find these machinists?
yep. So I know a lot of people have popularized this whole forward deployed model where it's like, and it's taking words and approaches from the military, but what we've done is we go into these markets, we pick an industrial market, we literally go boots on the ground, same way that the Ubers and the Lyfts of the world launched. So flyers, going to community places, going to churches, going to community centers, just getting the word out.
Really?
Oh yeah, just getting the word out. Because it turns out in some of these counties, almost 1 in every 4 people work in manufacturing. So everyone knows someone that works in manufacturing. So if you really just put information everywhere, people will eventually find it. And then obviously socials, online, like Facebook, Reddit. Reddit is even more interesting, but a lot of these workers are on Facebook. And then also just partnering with like traditional technical schools and trade schools. We've also done some hacky stuff, but that's kind of like launching the market.
Yeah.
The interesting thing is you can get them to sign up and all these things, but how do you then screen them? Because a lot of these people don't have a resume and no one wants to fill out yet another form. So really it's like you get them and then how do you kind of screen them? In the traditional world, which is what staffing firms do, they become call centers because they end up just like staying on the phone, screening these candidates, hundreds if not thousands, but that only scales linearly with the recruiter that you add. But what we're trying to do and we've done is how can we have agents do that? Voice agents. So they'll have a conversation like this one and just learn more about the person's career. It's like, what are you looking for? What have you done? Tell me more about your background, all these other things. And it's literally building the profile for them. So this is one part of the reason why like they weren't as sticky with other platforms is because that friction point of getting that data, but now it's like we've lowered the friction in a more native way. Because most blue collar people, how they operate their personal and professional lives is on the phone.
Yeah. Can you help me understand, like, your customers are manufacturing. What the heck are these people manufacturing?
Yeah, it's kind of funny. Because, and the reason I'll say it's really funny, we had 2 customers become customers like yesterday. One's like defense, like I won't say what. And then another one is like a company that is a store, but has a vertically integrated manufacturing side of the store. So it's like, it could be someone making beans. It could be someone making like platforms for some artsy things. It could be someone making stuff for nuclear reactors. It could be someone making planes. It could be someone making guns. It doesn't really matter because they all hire operators, technicians, machinists it really doesn't matter. It could be someone making this fabric. We work with people in textiles as well.
Wow, all over. So, Simba, I want to kind of talk about like you and your journey.
Sure.
Can you tell folks where you're from?
Yeah. So, grew up in Cape Town. Family moved here to Nashville, Tennessee, so Middle Tennessee, and then ended up going to Knoxville.
How old were you when you moved here?
So I was 14, 15.
Oh, wow.
I was very young.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's a big change from South Africa.
Yes and no. I mean, I grew up traveling the world, so I think in that period of time, especially from 2008 to 2016, that's where you had the whole globalization thing, where it's like whatever was in the U.S. was also in France and in everywhere.
Wow.
So from a pop culture standpoint, so that wasn't a big shock. Maybe the thing that was a little bit more of a shock was, I don't know, maybe like the way people speak. So it's like a different accent. It's like, if you can tell, my accent has changed quite a bit. Like I worked at Publix, and yeah, so it was very funny.
Okay, so you moved to Middle Tennessee in your teenage years, and where'd you go to school, and what'd you do?
Yeah, so I'd finished my matriculated with my O and A levels in the school system there, but I ended up having to go to Ravenwood to do my ACTs in American history, because you have to do that if you haven't taken that here. So.
But what about college?
Yeah, went to the University of Tennessee, Knoxville. I came here, applied to two schools, funny enough. Applied to UT and Vanderbilt, got into both. But both had Vanderbilt had a massive bill, and like, I'm not going to pay for that. And UT had in-state tuition, so went to UT. And then had a blast there. Such a fun college town. Love Knoxville. It's beautiful. I mean, met my wife there. So really, really fond of my time there.
When did you get the bug for like tech, startups, AI?
I would say maybe the thing that's more upstream of that was just entrepreneurship as a whole. Like my parents are both entrepreneurial, so maybe it's been there. It's like my dad started an insurance business, a lot of logistics business, and I kind of, especially with the logistics business, helped him out with that. And so that really just gave me a sense of like, you can just do things.
Yeah.
Like you don't have to ask for permission. So that kind of, even when I was a chemical engineer, that's the same mindset that I kind of approached it with, which is like, how can you reinvent things or do stuff like that? But I think tech was largely a function of just seeing what was happening in the world, where it's like, where are all the smart people like aggregating? What is kind of having the biggest impact on the economy? Because if you go back 20 years ago, and you look at the companies that were the top 5 or top 10 by market cap, it was largely companies whose innovation were largely driven by chemical engineering.
Really?
The Exxon Mobils of the world, the Shells, it was largely those companies. Like, it was either pharma or oil and gas. And then now you look 20 years later, it's now tech. Mm-hmm. Pretty much, it's all tech. Like, it is really what it is, right? So it tells you what side of innovation or engineering is driving most of the innovation in the market. Who knows? Maybe in the next however 20 years, it'll be hardware, not software anymore. But to me, that was the indication. I was like, okay, I chose chemical engineering, and probably me wanting to do that was because of chemistry, I love math, but probably I'm driven by impact, was probably just informed by priors, which is what was like had driven impact across the world before, but now there was a new big thing in town. So I was like, so instead of like having to pursue computer science, and I was just like, finish the degree, engineering is engineering. And then, decided to do a hard pivot into tech.
So you hinted earlier that you went to Stanford.
Sure.
Can you help me understand, how'd you get from a chemical engineer in Knoxville, Tennessee, out to Silicon Valley, and what was that experience like?
Yeah. I mean, a part of it was just a function of, as soon as I decided that I want to be in tech, I think, and I'm getting a job at Microsoft, so that was step one. And then through that, I quickly realized that I didn't want to work at a big company. I wanted to work because the tech was very interesting and cool, and those companies are very innovative, but they were like behemoths. It's like, I mean, at the time there was like 100,000 people in the company. Now I think it's even more, right? So I was like, I'm like a small cog in a big wheel and all that stuff. So I wanted to be in a place where I can have a lot of impact. So started just looking for startups to join. And I think, and also around the time when I graduated, I kind of quickly realized I kind of wanted to be in the place where tech was happening. And as I was thinking about grad school, I mean, I was thinking about either the Rhodes Scholarship at Oxford, or also, so part of what drew me to Stanford was also the Knight Hennessy Fellowship, which is this fellowship that was started by Phil Knight and John Hennessy, the former Phil Knight, the founder of Nike, to compete with the Rhodes Scholarship. That, hey, the new wave of innovation and where smart people are getting, it's not really in the UK anymore, it's the US, and it's in San Francisco. So, because when you think about going back to the market cap thing, a lot of the companies there, at least two of the biggest ones being NVIDIA and Google, it's all Stanford grads. So it's like, so that's what drew me there. So spent a stint at a startup, loved it. It's the one we were doing like AI for predictive maintenance. I mean, they've been growing like crazy. They're a Series B company now, but made the decision to like pursue grad school because I felt like it would open up more doors for me. Because I knew that if I wanted to have a lot of impact, I think having access to capital, knowing the right people, having access to people that have done it is super, super important. And being in an environment where people think a certain way around how they look at problems, they have agency around them, not just like, this is the world, the way the world is. They're like, nope, the world doesn't have to be this way, and I'm going to do X, Y, and Z about it. So yeah, I ended up there. I was like a kid in a candy store. And just like,
How so?
just explored like Stanford, made the most of it, and just met interesting people across varying fields, not even just tech, like people that are looking at art history, even people are doing really weird things, just because I was curious around like just these really smart people and pursuing different fields. And even when I was there, I was in the School of Engineering, but there's this program that I ended up switching to called Management Science and Engineering, which what it is make your own grad program. So I took like all the core classes in AI, some entrepreneurship stuff, psychology, world history, religion, national security things, just to like, I mean, that kind of exposed me to talking to like and working with like former sectors of defense, former national security advisors, ambassadors. I mean, at the Hoover Institution, you've got Condoleezza Rice, used to be the Secretary of State. And then obviously with the entrepreneurship, which is what most people know, it's like, yeah, you get exposed to all these cool people. Like you meet Sam Altman, Jensen Huang. These are like normal people that just decided that they wanted to do interesting things. And then obviously all the pioneers in AI. I mean, some of them ended up becoming really good mentors. A lot of them investors as well in Laborup today. So
Who are your biggest mentors?
I'll say my parents, I think, to start there. Parents.
Good answer in case they ever listen to this.
I mean, not really. I mean, because there's all these people that have done all these like crazy things, but I think the way I think about it, who are the people that have had a larger influence on your life? So it might not be the fanciest things to say, but I think largely that, and even in more recent times, I'd even argue my wife too.
Really?
Oh yeah. Like I tell people, like if you're gonna start a company, you probably it's not that you should try to get married as you're starting a company, but it is a superpower if you're married and you're starting a company.
Why?
Being a founder is really stressful, and I think it helps to have someone who just knows you deeply and who can also just like, I don't know, just be an advisor. Like, because at the end of the day, like you kind of go through these cycles as a founder. It's like just having someone who's just like, hey, remember why you started this? Remember why you're doing this? Like it's just so helpful. Like I tell people, it's like I would not be able to do this if that weren't the case.
I agree. And I think on the opposite side, if the spouse is not aligned with the entrepreneurial journey, that spells trouble.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
I'm pretty particular nowadays. I learned this from having that happen.
Yep.
And nowadays, before I invest, I try and get the spouse to come to dinner and ask them a couple questions about how they think about, I don't know, their partner being an entrepreneur and building a company. It's certainly not for the weak. I have a lot of empathy as the girlfriend of founder, Mr. Zap, for people who are with founders. It's like a very specific, it's like very rewarding, but it's like a very specific challenge in a relationship that you have to be cool with. Like I'm cool with it, but even I, who know founders, am like, oh, this is so hard some days.
No, I mean, my wife would probably say the exact same thing, right? I agreed. I mean, so even like right around maybe like 6 months to a year before starting the company, We'd just gotten married, and I was like, hey, I'm thinking about starting a company, and I'm not going to do it if you're not down for it. She was like, no, well, we came here to, I knew this was eventually where we're going to land.
Yeah.
So I know you didn't come here to work at a big tech company or a large company. I knew you came here to. So yeah, she was on board.
So you talked a little earlier about like all these different experiences that kind of led to starting Laborup, but like, what did that look like actually starting it and like getting people on board with what you were trying to build?
Yeah. I would say, so you have to make the mental decision first that, okay, I'm burning the boats. I'm going to do this. Because I mean, at the time I was kind of thinking about pursuing a PhD. I had a,
oh my God, that's like the opposite thing.
It's kind of funny. I had a very fancy product role at a very fancy company. That I would have made like starting salary about $500,000 and close to.
Oh my gosh.
So, and then there was this. So first that mental switch that, okay, gonna do this and just gonna shoot my shot. Like just gonna do the thing. I'm a very like high conviction person. Like when I don't need a lot of information to make a decision, but I think when I have the right information, I'm like, let's do it. It's also why I got married early. So it's like, made that mental switch, had done some discovery before, and then spend time with like people that had built similar companies. So interestingly enough, in what we're trying to do, there's maybe 2 vintages of companies that were done before, like 2005-ish, the 2010s. And you can always trace back why it didn't work. So I wanted to learn that because the classic case that I always hear from one of our investors, who I think was an investor, I don't know if in both companies, but he's still on the board of Instacart today. But there's a company called Webvan, which was Instacart before Instacart. But why it failed was obviously mobile. It's now very clear. Like there were different iterations of Uber, Airbnb, and all these different things. So I wanted to learn why those companies didn't work. And I won't name them because some of them are still moving along and they're not going anywhere, right? So, and part of it was just what I learned was like there's this operational layer that needs to exist in this talent marketplace, which is for someone to go from I'm interested in a job to getting a job. It's not just like a Tinder match or like, because you end up being just a job board. There's an operational layer that staffing firms do, which is like screening, vetting, sourcing, coordinating interviews, all these different things. And part of why previous startups didn't purely work was largely because that operational layer could not be productized. But now with AI, and you're probably hearing a lot of these things around AI going after services industries, it can. Agents can. And they're getting rapidly better at doing that. So that being there made it very clear that, interesting. Because around the same time when OpenAI was like on everyone's mind, like late 2023, getting into 24. I mean, see they had the big launch in January of 23. So it became very clear that with this new intelligence, like, yeah, you can call hundreds of people, screen them, and have conversations with them, and they don't feel robotic. And then you can build data off of that. You couldn't do that before. So that helped because I wanted to kind of de-risk that there is technology that can kind of tackle the failure points before. And then there's also a market that's there. So one of the things I really like to pay attention to is micro, which is like, go talk to someone in a factory and just go figure out, is this a problem for them? But then also look at the macro, because since 2020, investment in manufacturing construction went like parabolic.
Really?
Oh yeah, it was crazy. Like reindustrialization has just been over the last like 6 years now. It's been crazy. So when you think about companies that didn't
So we're
work,
just like building more manufacturing facilities.
yeah. I mean, you look at Tennessee, almost every other week, there's an announcement of some big nuclear company coming here.
Wow.
Which is kind of funny because some of the companies are companies that I knew in Silicon Valley, like Oklo, Radian, some we even share investors with. And I was like, I did not plan this. But yeah, they're all going to Oak Ridge. I was like, holy shit.
Yeah.
I was like, who would have thought? Like, yeah, Tennessee, I mean, I think it was named #1 state in nuclear. So, I mean, there's just a lot of things, a lot of investment. Part of it is driven by reshoring. I think during the pandemic, we quickly realized that we can have supply chains that are kind of like where the power is held elsewhere. I mean, obviously with China and all these things, but also for critical stuff like defense with rising geopolitical stuff, but also even for AI, because I think I made a post recently about how OpenAI released an RFP for manufacturers, which is kind of funny because like for you and I to have the chatbot in our pockets, obviously there needs to be models, and then those models need compute. That compute obviously got to make these chips, and you need data centers, and data centers need a lot of freaking energy. And to get more energy, you need to find other ways to get energy. Hydro, coal, solar, and all these things is not going to cut it. So that's why you're seeing a lot of nuclear. It's largely to support data centers and the AI wave, because that is the biggest raw input into training these things. They need a lot of energy. They need a lot of water to cool the systems. So at the end of the day, it's creating a demand on the industrial base to be able to create this energy. So that's why you're seeing a lot of nuclear investments. You're seeing a lot of like anyone that's in like the power generation, and even firms like Andreessen Horowitz. That's why they're really pushing the American dynamism thing, because it's to support you and I to have a chatbot in our pockets. So.
That's crazy. So how'd you get back from Silicon Valley back to Nashville, Tennessee?
Yeah, through you. It's funny.
Yeah, tell the story.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I made the decision as we were thinking about where we're going to launch. Obviously, like you do have industrial pockets in California, obviously SoCal being a big one of them, but in the Bay Area, you really don't have anything outside of Fremont, right, which is largely just one company in Tesla. So knew a bunch of manufacturers in Tennessee, so went out and I'm like, hey, thinking about doing this. Is this something that might be useful and interesting to you? And they're like, yep. So you start working with a couple companies in specific geo, and our business model and our company benefits from network effects, where you need to have like having a bunch of people in the same geo, obviously ability to refer and all these things, and also even from the supply and demand dynamics, it helps a lot. So it just became our first market. And then part of it that played into it was just familiarity with Tennessee as a whole. But ended up going back and forth quite a bit, and then quickly realized that we needed someone who was more boots on the ground. So went on LinkedIn. I was like, startups, Nashville, and your profile was the first thing that popped up.
Really?
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
So you've got good SEO on LinkedIn. And then I just DM'd you. I was like, hey, thinking about moving back to Nashville to Tennessee as a whole, and also thinking about hiring someone locally. And they're like, cool, let's get on a call. And then we got on a call, and then, yeah, you referred Corbin, and Corbin ended up joining the company. And that was that.
Brought you back to Tennessee.
Exactly.
Back to home.
Yeah.
How big is your team now?
So we just added a person last night.
Oh, my goodness.
So I think we're around 12, 13.
Yeah.
Yeah, the last 6 months, we've grown a lot, so it's been hard to keep up.
And you guys all are in person in Nashville every day. Like, that's a pretty unique choice compared to a lot of startups, at least in this area. What made you kind of pick that culture for your team?
Yeah, absolutely. So we are in Knoxville as well. So we kind of split time between both, because sales is local, at least go to market and marketing stuff. But we are in office, really. And the largest team is actually here. So product engineering, and now we're growing sales and design. But I think part of what influenced that is, like, when you're a small company, I mean, you're so small that I think culture is very important. Culture is important in a big company, but even more so when you're small and you're working a lot and there's a lot of transfer of information, reinforcing that culture, being in a lot of collaboration, really, where it's like you do have functions, but you don't really have functions. Like, the company's very flat. So it's like people are just constantly collaborating. So if people were on Zoom land, it wouldn't work. Or really being distributed, it wouldn't work. But obviously, as we scale into other markets, we're probably going to hire local teams there, because a lot of manufacturing, especially sales and go-to-market, is local. So that's super important. But largely, yeah, we want to be in person, and it's worked out well so far. I mean, like, yeah, we're in office 5, 6, 7 days a week, depending on the person. So it's not for everyone.
Where do you want Laborup to go in the next, like, 5 to 10 years? What's the future for you?
I would say everywhere across the U.S., every industrial pocket, millions of workers, tens of thousands of companies that we're working with, and really putting millions of people to work every year. I mean, our overarching goal is we want to put 1 billion industrial workers to work across the world. Because what we're doing is not only like a problem here. Funny enough, early on, we got outreach from a trade union in Canada that says, hey, we have a bunch of machinists, like we can find good paying jobs in Canada and we want to come to America. We're like, we don't do that. But it's kind of funny that it's like, it's a problem everywhere. There's a few places in the world that have figured this out well. Germany, because when you're in high school, there's like 2 tracks you go down. This is largely because of the automotive, either the 4-year or the technical. So they've had really good infrastructure, but that's the only country that we've seen that's got good infrastructure on this. And the way we think about it too is like, who knows, maybe in a decade from now, most industrial workers will be robots. So maybe Laborup becomes, I don't know, a data platform for robots. Well, who knows?
That's a pretty crazy idea. So for folks who, we get that you're a workaholic founder.
Sure.
That builds Laborup 7 days a week. But when you're not building Laborup, like, what do you do?
Sleeping. I love sleeping. Like, I love sleeping, dude. If you ask me, like, when I was in my teenage years, like, just I would go have fun. Like, I love sleeping.
Oh, really?
That's like my most favorite thing. And then watching like random videos on YouTube that are not related to anything productive. So I look for people that are visiting some remote town somewhere or Animal Planet. It might sound really weird. And then, I mean, probably the most important thing is just spending time with my wife. I think that's super, super important. And that's a big part of who I am outside of work. And then obviously family is super important as well. Friends, I mean, as you get older, your friends kind of dwindle down just because of a function of time. But yeah, that's who I am outside of but this is a lot of my life. So
yeah. I know, Simba, that you're a big LinkedIn poster.
Oh, good Lord.
For the haters that call it cringe, what do you have to say to them?
That's so funny. I mean, to do anything meaningful in life, you have to be cringe. Because being cringe is being intentional. Anyone that tells you you're being cringe, they're just, who knows, maybe probably insecure, probably afraid to put themselves out there. So what they're doing is projecting that they would feel cringe by putting themselves out there. But it's like, you're not going to do anything meaningful in life if you don't put yourself out there. Every single person, puts himself out there. Obviously, if it's not earnest or authentic, then sure. But it's like I deeply care about what we're doing. I deeply care about telling the story of what we're doing and how we're doing it and the people doing it. And I'm an introvert, so which is kind of funny. But it's not cringe. If you think it's cringe, you're cringe.
That was my fun question for you. Yep. What else do you want folks to know about Laborup? What's your sales pitch for the last few minutes?
I don't have a sales pitch. I'd say, because at the end of the day, you have to know who you're selling to. I don't know. I would say maybe for this format, it's if you're looking for, so I will sell to people to join Laborup. So maybe that's what I'll use this for. If you're looking for a mission-oriented company where you're going to work really hard, you're going to have a lot of fun, you're going to be very intense, look no further. If that scares you, that's good. You should be scared to work with Laborup, because at the end of the day, we really deeply care about the people that work here and that cultural fit. We have a vibe and we like to protect that, because I fundamentally believe nothing there's no way you're going to do anything meaningful in life if you're not willing to go all in on something. Mm-hmm. You just have to. It's just pick your person. You have to go all in, one way or the other, to do anything meaningful. And if that sounds like you, then yeah, come join Laborup. I'm down. DM me on LinkedIn. Or
how can folks follow along with you and with Laborup and where you're headed?
LinkedIn is a good spot. Ask Zap. Zap will tell you where we're at. But yeah, that's about it. I'm always down to meet people. I also deeply care about entrepreneurship as a whole. I think I'm very much invested in Nashville and Tennessee, having an entrepreneurial ecosystem as well. So I try to be out there talking to people, being in interesting pockets where people care actually about entrepreneurship, not acting like they care about entrepreneurship. So Yeah, I try to be accessible. I try to help people because I have been a beneficiary of people that had no freaking business helping me, like absolutely no business helping me. And they were just willing and open. And sometimes I ask them, they're like, you just showed up and you seemed like, and paid forward. I always ask them, how can I pay you back? It's like, nope, paid forward. And I think that's part of the things that make the Bay Area, especially, what it is people are willing to pay it forward. Like, there's always the classic case, and this happened, by the way, where, like, I mean, not right now because obviously with all the things happening with OpenAI, but like, you can reach out to Sam Altman and he'll get back to you.
That's wild.
You can try to reach out to some top executive in Nashville. Good luck getting a meeting with them, even if what you're doing is relevant.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Like, it's just different culturally, where I think Silicon Valley and tech as a whole, incentives have taught people to take young people seriously. Because the last time somebody got an email from some 20-something-year-old, it was Larry and Sergey, the founders of Google. Now it's one of the most important companies in the world. So people have learned that take young people seriously because you never know. So even if you're a purely selfish player, like, you never know who you're talking to, where they're going to go in life and all these different things. And I think culturally, the more we can put it in different ecosystems, because I think that is the thing that hurts most ecosystems is they don't put founders first, and then they don't create a culture of openness. It's very closed. It's very, people are not accessible, especially people that have done it. So I love spending my time, like, just talking to people with the very small, tiny experience that I have, to just say, hey, this is what it was like. This is what it's like, and go do it. And one of the things I really love, I mean, outside of just building Laborup, that gives me a strong sense of pride in the professional world, is also getting other founders started. I freaking love that. Just, yeah, I might not know about the problem you're solving, but you seem smart. This seems interesting. Go do it. Like,
yeah. Can you share a little bit more about how, like, what you'd like to see in the Nashville startup ecosystem, and like what would help startups, given what you learned in Silicon Valley? So I heard the first piece, which is like, we need to take young people seriously, and we need to take tech companies seriously. But is there anything else that comes to mind?
Yeah, I mean, take young people seriously. Invest in young people. Invest in schools. And one thing, before I talk about the other point that I want to add on to that, I think it's really exciting to see Vanderbilt opening campuses in San Francisco and New York. But I hope people also realize what that does. Any smart person that wants to be in tech or finance is going to want to be there. And they're going to want to leave Nashville. So part of maybe not having a robust ecosystem here and all that stuff is what led Vanderbilt to have campuses in the hubs. So I worry about what that does for this as an ecosystem. And I think it's interwoven with taking young people seriously. And then the other thing that I think is super important is creating a culture of openness, where I think just being open to talk to people. I think people here tend to qualify quite a bit.
Really?
Oh yeah, it's like, who are you? Did you go to school? Yada yada yada. I mean, people do that everywhere, but I think it's a very extreme here. And then the other thing is just, I think the posture that, at least from my view, and I could be wrong about this, is Nashville prioritizes capital allocators before founders. And it's very interesting because even when you look at Silicon Valley or all these other pockets, founders came first before capital allocators. Like, that's always like founders first and then capital allocators. And it's like, that's just what it is, because like at the end of the day, you can have all the money in the world, but if you don't have founders, where's that money going? It's probably going to go out of Nashville. It's like all these different things. So I would say the posture I've seen mostly is very capital allocator centric, which makes sense because those are the money people. So money runs the world. So it's like, but at the end of the day, it's like, especially comparing to Silicon Valley, it's very founder centric. I've met, pick your investors like role model, and they're the most like humble, respect the founder. And these are people that sits on boards of Google, all these big fancy companies that are worth billions, and they will give you the time of day and the attention. And some of the people here will not, which is kind of funny to me. It's like, okay,
It's a big difference.
it's a very big difference. And it's like,
Yeah.
but they're also kind of, I don't know.
Well, do you see Laborup as being part of the change in the future?
I hope it is. I mean, 100%. I think this is also part of like why I want to tell the Laborup story too, is because I want someone else to see that and like, oh, you can also do this, and you can go after it. You can go at it, and just empower more founders.
Yeah.
Because I think that's one of the most important things, especially early on. It's like you're like 9 times out of 10 you're dealing with problems or things not going your way. So it's very important to feel empowered.
My guess is that you are the youngest venture-backed founder in Nashville, Tennessee.
Maybe.
And probably, maybe not in the state of Tennessee because there's some young ones in Chattanooga, but in Nashville, Tennessee. And I think it could have been extremely difficult to raise money here locally.
Probably.
Because of your age.
Oh, yeah.
Would be a huge detriment. Whereas your age was probably additive, raising money in the Valley. What do you think?
Oh, yeah. There's a running joke around San Francisco being ageist. Like, if you're 25, you're too old. Like, you're too old. Because, like, yeah, they're giving hundreds of millions of dollars to 19-year-olds. And
that one is a little crazy to me. But,
the interesting thing, I mean, 19-year-olds are high alpha, though. It's like, they're not low beta. So it's like,
what
yeah.
does that mean?
I mean, high alpha is just the notion that you're looking for alpha. You're looking for outlier, like, returns or impact.
Mm-hmm.
Low beta is you kind of want more shots on goal, which is you're trying to reduce the variance, right? And trying to get more shots on goal. So sure, funding that experienced person that's done the thing gets you there. And you see this in like a field where this happens the most is cybersecurity, where very rarely do you see, like, I think Wiz is the latest one, outcomes that are beyond like 5 billion.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of good cybersecurity investors, they know that, okay, this is going to be acquired at 5 billion. I'm going to look for that former CISO, or the former principal security engineer at Microsoft, whatever it is, because you need experience. But then the outlier things, and this is one of the things that I also kind of learned from one of our investors and a good mentor, Jeff Jordan, invested in Brian Chesky at Airbnb, approved of Meta and Instacart, and even was there with Zuck. It's just, if you're truly trying to reinvent industries, typically it requires a fresh mind, because sometimes experience becomes a crutch. And a lot of outlier outcomes, even from a market capitalization standpoint today, we're all from young people.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, I mean, Zuck, Larry and Sergey, like what, 25, 24, even Bill Gates. Jensen was a little older, was in his 30s, but even then it's just, it's very apparent and clear. And yeah, I mean, the Brian Cheskys of the world hadn't really had a job before starting the company. It's just, I don't know, like, great outcomes can come from anywhere. And I think you just have to be able to spot the right trade. So you're right. Maybe age helped me in San Francisco. But yeah, probably would have had a hard time here. Oh my God, yes. Absolutely. I would have had a hard time.
Well, I'm hoping you prove a lot with building Laborup in Tennessee and your young, hungry team, too.
Yeah, that's the hope. That's the dream.
Well,
that's what we're
thanks
gonna
so
do.
much for sharing, Simba.
Absolutely.
Appreciate you hanging out with me on a Saturday.
Yeah, happy to. Go.
Oh, hey, we're done. Nice. What'd I say? 40, 45 minutes.
This is good.
What'd you think?
That's pretty good. I like it.
Ooh, I just make it very, like, conversational.
Yeah.